Hello, welcome to the third webinar in our series of 6. We're going through the Marketing Unfair Advantage method, and this is a webinar about value propositions. So obviously we deal with a lot of value propositions with our clients, we create them, and this is how we do it. So I just want to take you through a little bit about us briefly, if you're not familiar. We are a collection of marketers and consultants who have worked together for a number of years. I've got about 20 years of marketing strategy experience. Together, we do everything from positioning through to go-to-market plans, and we have a growth machine, which is a lead generation marketing methodology, and allows you to create automation and consistent inbound leads. The purpose of today is to go through value. The idea is to understand what value is, how it works, how buyers think about value, and how you can create your value propositions. We will go through each of these areas, and I just want to, before we do that, just explain a little bit about our methods. So the reason that we're doing what we're doing, and as I say, we've got a few decades of experience in marketing strategy, is for B2B businesses, lead generation, inbound marketing is hard. And the general complaint we hear when people start working with us is that their marketing isn't working, or that in general, the sales teams think that marketing doesn't work. What we tend to find is that what they're talking about is the tactics aren't working. And the tactics aren't working to solve these kinds of challenges. They're not able to stand out against incumbents or other competition. They're not able to be efficient and effective with what they're doing. And they have promises, say Series A or Series B or Series C growth promises. They're B2B tech businesses, and they can't organize themselves for marketing-based growth. What we tend to say is, well, the tactics that they're trying, a bit of SEO, a bit of PPC, etc., won't solve these big fundamental strategic challenges. What will solve them is gathering the right insights about what customers want to buy, positioning yourself in the market in a really ballsy way, and testing everything. So what we've created to solve those challenges is what we call a marketing unfair advantage. The general assumption here, and it's a pretty fair one, is that most competitors don't do marketing very well. In quite old-fashioned industries, that's definitely the case. In the new tech type SaaS businesses, venture-backed tech, slightly less likely that they don't do anything well, but most B2B marketing is boring. And we kind of think it stands for boring to boring. So the opportunity here is to create an unfair advantage that will define as a very systemized way of going about your marketing. We do this for B2B businesses that are what you might define as in the growth stage. Now that is businesses that have got a new acceleration of growth required. We can talk to B2B businesses at any stage, but what tends to happen is this is the urgent burning platform issue, if you like. They've taken on new investment. Maybe they've got a certain amount of revenue and are wanting to double it in order to sell the business, or maybe they're private equity backed. Either way, they've got new promises and they need to hit those promises. So that becomes this moment when they're like, oh, we really need to sort our marketing. What is a marketing unfair advantage? Well, often it's where the customer acquisition cost is lower than competitors, or the growth from customer acquisition is higher than competitors. Manu, who we work with as one of our investment partners, talks about this example for Revolut. He invested in Revolut, an online bank, and they invested because their CAC was below $1 versus the $20 of the competitors. So that's a very classic example. And if you're looking for investment or you're looking for growth, then these kind of metrics are kind of fundamental. We've got a whole thing about the metrics, which is in a previous webinar. We won't go through that now. But that's an important way of seeing marketing. The reason we look at it in that way is that we come from both worlds. So we have investment and commercial partners, and we have marketing partners. And because we bring the two things together, we're really thinking about commercial plans and sales. We're not talking about, say, just branding. So what that means is for our clients, which are ranged from very large businesses to growth stage invested in businesses such as Builder and Soul Machines, these businesses are designed for growth or engineering themselves for growth, so they need to look at the metrics very carefully. What the process delivers for them is we take a bunch of insights and research and we put it through strategic processes. We come up with a go-to-market plan and we test and we scale within this growth machine. What comes out, so that's what we do. What comes out is what we like to describe as swagger. So after 12 to 18 months, these businesses, if they embody the new idea and if they embody, say, new brand design and new website and new energy around their positioning, then you can kind of guarantee within the 12 to 18 months, they will have this new swagger and they will be more successful. They'll be closing the biggest deals of their existence, and trade and other people will be looking at them going, oh, they're the ones to follow or to watch. So the swagger is really exciting, and it kind of counteracts this boring to boring thing. You can't bore someone into buying. You have to be interesting and different, and this is a method to achieve that. Okay. The reason we think this, and the heart of all of this, is that marketing, we think, should be run like product development. It should be run with insights and constant testing. What tends to happen is you get a lot of micro tests going on, like little tests in lots of areas, but no real insights. So we start with insights, and then we develop a positioning and a testing method that allows you to develop your marketing messaging with confidence. So enough about us. Value propositions. This is a really, really contentious area because so much of the time the value proposition is valueless. We'll go through why value is important to define, how to create it, how to build your value proposition, and how to evaluate it. The following webinars will be talking a little bit more about how you use it and the whole nuance of doing research. But this is an overview of how we see value. We have fundamental insights that we collect. And these fundamental insights, if you've seen the previous webinars, you will see I've gone through them. I will go through them again in some new way today. These fundamental insights are the building blocks for your positioning and your marketing strategy. Now, each of these insights has got their own workshop, right? So I can't go into the crazy detail that we do, that we go into when we work with clients. But suffice to say that these have each got an importance in building a story. Now, the story is one where we combine a whole bunch of insights and we get to value propositions, and then we get to something called a provocative point of view. And through that process, we understand the market and the buyer and the product. Now, in this slide, you can see that there's a number of factors all coming together for a value proposition. And what happens is we look at the jobs to be done, and we'll come on to that in a minute. We look at the pains and the gains that the customer is, the prospect is dealing with. And we look at the alternatives that they might already use or might wish to use. All of this insight, and we'll go into each of these in more detail in a second, all of this insight goes into a conveyor belt. And that conveyor belt uses all of these observations and insights, and we construct funnels, and we construct messaging, and we construct all of your marketing planning from it. So these insights are fundamental, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail about them in this session. But just so you understand how it all works, we collect insights for each segment, and then we build a positioning and a value proposition from them. So what are we talking about? Value. What is value? most overused term probably in business. And it's important to think what it is and what it isn't. So the dictionary definition is the regard that something is held to deserve something of, say, importance or worth or usefulness. Okay, so as a noun, it's being used to describe something that is of worth. Interestingly, if you look at the etymology of it, it comes from the idea of something of worth, which is coming itself from being strong, being well, being worth, have power and be able. So it's a very active word, or should be, or could be used from a very active perspective. Similes are things like of merit, usefulness, utility, practicality, etc. So we're talking about something very practical, something you use, right? It's not something you insert into something, which is like these. It's not something that says, hey, we're easier, hey, we're better, hey, we're smarter, hey, we're quicker. It's something fundamentally that is related to the buyer. It's something the buyer uses. It's something practical, has utility, of worth to them. So the way that we like to think of it is that there's a value gap in the buyer's mind. So this is our little buyer. They are in the position of thinking, right, we're here right now in our strategic planning. We need to get over there. So we need to increase our sales, reduce our costs, solve this problem. And the journey from one point to another point is fraught with disaster. And they're seeking help. Now, they might be seeking help to increase their sales over time. They might be seeking help to reduce their costs, to reduce manpower, whatever it is they're trying to do. All they want to know is, how can you help them traverse this gap in their own understanding as to how to achieve it? It may be, if you look at the marketplace, they've already decided on a certain type of tool or a certain type of service. That's fine too. They're going to want to know, how are you versus anybody else going to help them bridge this gap better than the competitors? So the value proposition is how you deliver the desired outcome. Your value is in how you solve the problem. And we'll keep coming back to this. If you look at who we're talking to, you always start with the segment or the persona or the individual. They always have a use case. And then your features and your benefits combine to create a value. So the value in the eyes of the buyer is created when their pain is alleviated, the individual's pain is alleviated, and they can see how to achieve their goals. The elements within the strategy that you talk about, the features, the benefits, etc., will come out of that framework. You need to be talking about how they're going to achieve their goals. So if you think about how we help our clients, for example, we know who we're talking to. It's B2B businesses seeking growth. The use case is they suddenly have this new promise, this new investment, these new plans they need to deliver, and they're not sure how to create marketing and communication that is compelling. The feature that we've got is this process. Our how is this marketing unfair advantage process that we take clients through. The benefit is they can deliver on their growth promises. They create a new swagger. That's what we talk about as the benefit. They have something confident and bold and creative and interesting. The end value is they can deliver on their promises so they don't get fired. They can actually ensure they can deliver on their promises so they don't look like an idiot in front of the CEO or in front of the investor or whoever they're needing to report into. The net of that is that they have a business that grows. So what do we talk about? We have to talk about the value. We have to talk about confidence, and we have to deliver evidence of confidence. And here's a couple of examples from clients recently. So the feature and the benefit is come together so that in this example of clarity, we have been struggling with this structuring and articulating our value for years, but you nailed it. Well done. Thank you. So that idea that the feature and the benefit came together and they could articulate their value. The net of that is that they saw a unique value, a little bit later. So in the last 6 months, say after 12 months of doing communications, or 6 months of doing communications, in the last 6 months, we've closed our biggest deals yet. So this is something that we're hearing back all the time. Doesn't happen immediately. It'd be foolish to assume it would, but once you pull these ideas together and go to market in a really compelling way, then you end up with powerful communications that create swagger, that attract deals. So, great. How do we find out what buyers actually value? So we're going to be needing to talk to buyers who have some value already of your business, or value your business already, so they're using it, and those that are not using your business, so we understand what they need. Value, as we've discussed, in the eyes of the buyer is created when their pain is alleviated and they can see how to achieve their goals. I can see that you guys can help me achieve your goals. So therefore, it's at the intersection between their pain, or their pains and gains in their jobs, so we'll come on to that, and your solution. So if we break this down, we're going to be broadly looking at anything that's currently painful. So an immediate situation, and we need to get to understanding, I need to understand why that pain exists. Sales, yes, we all need sales, but why are they not getting sales? Why can they not do that? Why can they not do that? As we've identified with the B2B businesses, we understand that actually it's about building a system. So a lot of our understanding of our clients' needs it comes down to 3 things: people, processes, and platform. So they're not understanding how to build a system. And then the 4th thing is positioning. They're not interesting. So how can we build a system, marketing unfair advantage, that delivers on those 4 areas? So the current painful situation and why that exists. The implication of that, well, the implication is they're not going to get to hit the next level of fundraising, or they're not going to be able to close the deals they need to close in order to build the business in order to get sold. The desired situation: double sales so they can sell the family business, double sales so they can hit their growth targets. Goal specifics: we need to have this number of units sold within this amount of time. So this is the input. This is what we gather. We've got certain ways of doing that, which we'll come on to. We then combine it with your solution. So this comes down to how. So the steps that you offer. Now, even if you're a product and a platform business, you will be offering consulting and guidance and help. If you're a service business, it's all consulting and guidance and help. So either way, you will be guiding companies through the steps they need to go through to succeed. All they're wanting to do is to succeed. They don't care about your widgets or your platform or your tools. They just want to know, can I get from here to here, and how are you going to get me there? We're going to talk about your how, and we're going to package that up. We're then also going to look at your expertise. Now, your expertise is the ability that you have to deliver on the how, and why they can trust you. The safety net is an interesting concept, whereby they go, okay, that's fine. I get that you can help me and get me to where I want you to get me to, but how can I be sure? How can I be guaranteed that if I fall off the process, you'll catch me? And this is an important psychological factor. So we have so many checks and balances that you won't fail, is basically the message. And then they're really wanting to know the delivery. So specifically, what do I get when, and how is that going to work? What we tend to find is that the how is really, really fundamental. Competitors will keep talking about category what's. They'll say, we do a faster widget, a better widget, a bluer widget, a redder widget. Buyers don't care. They'll go, yeah, I get that you're in the widget business. How are you different? So we tend to find that 95% of our activity is around the how, and 5% is just around the category framing of the what. And that's a problem within the idea of category design. So if that's something that's popped up on your radar that has a role, but is not the be all and end all, because actually customers don't want more confusions. They kind of just want to know how. So there is an opportunity for category design in a specific role, in a specific use case, or marketing case, if you like, but it's not the be all and end all. So within the context of how, we will break down the steps that you'll take to provide this success, the expertise that you offer, the safety net that you provide, and we'll demonstrate and communicate the delivery details. Okay. So to do that, we're going to need to use Gather Insights. And this is where we go back to our 4 major insights, which are the vision that you have, the real problem that we're solving for the buyer, the alternatives and workarounds, and the new thing. And within each of these, we also explore the jobs, the pains, and the gains. So we're going to come into a bit more detail. So I apologize for the details on this, but it's going to get a little bit denser. So in order to construct your value proposition and to find your provocative point of view, which is this provocative idea that makes you sound more interesting and delivers the swagger that you need in the market. To do that, we need to assemble and overlay a number of insights. And you can see how they all come together. So we're going to focus in this conversation for value propositions of these 2 primarily to start with, which is the market, what's happening in the market and what's happening with the buyer. We're going to understand jobs to be done. We're going to understand the pains that customers are dealing with, the gains that they're seeking, and the alternatives that they're using or exploring. So to go into, and then after that, we'll talk about the new thing and bring it all together. So to start off with this, this area of jobs to be done, all credit to Tony Ulwick. Now, this gentleman around 1990 had this epiphany. He was learning Six Sigma, or New Six Sigma, and he was helping customers. He was a consultant. He was helping customers with innovation strategy. And this concept of jobs to be done was then popularized by Clayton Christensen in his book, The Innovator's Solution, because he was obviously well known before with his book, The Innovator's Dilemma. Now, what Ulwick identified or realized was if you combine the idea of Six Sigma, where you're optimizing processes, with the idea of customers seeking to achieve something and get something delivered or used properly, he realized that actually the job that they were trying to get done was essentially a process. So say that you're trying to create marketing material. The job you might be trying to get done would be to, I don't know, say, optimize attribution management across channels. Now, the process you go through to understand the attribution of sales across channels would involve lots of different data points, would involve different metrics. It would be confusing. That's your base level. So what he's saying is that instead of focusing on products and the customer, just marketing managers or the product, which is, say, an attribution tool, he said instead you should understand the underlying process or the job the customer is trying to execute when they are using a product or a service. So when I'm using an attribution tool, how am I combining data sources? What problems do I have in getting clean data? What do I have in interpreting a click versus a like versus an engage, other type of engagement? These are the steps. The job I've got done is to attribute sales to channels, but how do I do it? That's why I'm saying the how works brilliantly with the actual real needs of the buyer. So let's break this down a little bit. We've got a webinar on jobs to be done shortly, so we'll talk about that in more detail. But this is your headline. So if you imagine a job to be done, say attribute sales to a certain channel, what's the first step? What's the second step? And what's the third step or the fourth step, the fifth step? And then if I'm dealing with those steps, how do I know I've achieved success? For example, I might want to get clean data in order to understand what I'm dealing with for step one. I might want to then be able to manage and evaluate data in different factors. That might be another desirable outcome. So there's all these desirable outcomes, and you can see this as kind of metrics or measures for a job. It's either a good thing or a poor thing. So it's either a pain or a gain. I'll explain that in a minute. So when we're looking at any job that's trying to get done, and this is for marketing purposes, not just innovation and the rest of the business, what is the buyer evaluating in their own mind? What are they thinking about? What are they using in their own mind to evaluate if this tool or product or service could solve any one or many of these steps? So if you break this down, what you have is pains, gains, and alternatives. You have the step one, for example, and you might have a desirable outcome to remove a pain. You might have a desirable outcome of step one to increase the gains. If you take that marketing attribution example, the desirable outcome to remove a pain could be to get rid of bad data. A gain might be that you can compare stuff very quickly. An alternative might be I'm using spreadsheets. So we're breaking this down. Now, I've got an example here from a client who's a private market data source. So similar to the attribution, actually. So these guys aggregate lots of data from venture capitalists and other investors, and then they package it up, clean it, and make it available to investors who are wanting to invest in private markets, which, as you know, are not publicly traded markets. They're very opaque. They're very difficult to understand if the business is good or bad. But these guys have the best data in the market. They're called CPRES. So if you take the jobs to be done, you could suggest that the analyst in an investment house has got clients' money and they want to put it into private markets. They want to know which of their private market investments in their portfolio are performing and which are not. Totally reasonable job to find out. The first step could be quite multifaceted. They might want to, currently getting to an answer, any type of answer might take a lot of time. So they might want to reduce the time. That's it. Removing a pain and increasing a gain, accurate answer. Another gain area could be they want to have confidence and they want to say yes to their bosses that this answer is correct. They don't want to get fired for making bad recommendations to their investors about what to invest in. Again, they might want to have visibility so they can show their workings. And actually trends, I've got it in blue here, is a product opportunity. So what we discover is they want visibility of trends, growth trends within that portfolio, and trends and trending data is a feature or a product opportunity. They might also want to remove errors, and currently they're using Excel, so there's lots of errors in manual data manipulation. They want to save money, they're spending too much money, that's a pain, and they think they can maybe save money by consolidating lots of data sources. So you can see here, even within the first step of a job that they want to get done, there is multiple benefits that they're seeking, or gains, if you like, they're seeking, and pains they're trying to avoid. What you get from this then is a very rich collection of insights that your whole business can use. You only get this through very structured interviewing and triangulating data from a number of sources, such as from market research, as in market reports, talking firsthand to buyers, talking to exiting unhappy buyers, talking to happy buyers, talking to prospects, etc., and industry experts. So this role of jobs to be done, or this approach for jobs to be done, is fundamental in creating value propositions. What we want to do, and those first two steps are kind of identifying, if you like, the customer needs and organizing them. Step number 3 is to then to rank those customer needs. And this is the important bit, because as you could just see, if I go back up again, there's a ton of data there. What's important? And what tends to happen with clients that we start working with is they've got all of this information. None of this is new. They know it, they talk to customers, and they have like 30 benefits that they talk about. But actually what happens using this process is you start to really organize it. And it takes a little bit of time and skill. And then what you need to do is you need to rank the information, and you put it through a filtering process, which is itself a separate process. And that filtering process allows you to understand, is this really fundamentally important to the customer or not? Is this something that is being resolved or not in the market? Are they satisfied? Is it very tangible for them? Can they feel this pain, or is it something kind of tangential? Can they see the possible gain if this was solved? this job? And then likewise, are they going to pay for it? So these are some factors to rank the jobs. So not the individual pains and gains, but the jobs. So in this instance, trying to understand which of the private market investments are performing and which are not is a fundamental job, is a very important job. Within it, they can see that they could remove some pains and gains. They could see that there's some alternatives that could be improved upon. So there's a lot of visibility. It's very tangible. And they were willing to pay to remove this problem. But importantly, we're understanding what's below that job, not just, hey, you get visibility, or hey, it's quicker and easier. It's like, well, what's actually happening? And what you tend to do is you get lists then for how you can evolve the product, and you can work with your whole business in evolving the product. But then you'll also get these jobs ranked for each of your buying cohort. So this is an example of the influences in a purchase. So you'll have some kind of leadership, you'll have business buyers, you'll have technical buyers. You'll be aware of all the different kind of personas that exist within B2B sales strategy. Each of these people will have their own jobs they're trying to get done. They might have 2 or 3 steps in those jobs. They might just have one job, and that's fine, but they might have 2 or 3 jobs, and each of them might have 1 or 2 or 3 steps. So it gets quite granular, and the output of all of this then becomes a very detailed collection of persona information that all of your sales teams can use. And the color coding here doesn't quite marry the ones you've just seen, but generally you can see greens and reds and yellows. You can see the jobs to be done here. You can see the gains and the pains, and you can see the product benefits talked about. So the output of all of that is very granular messaging at each stage of the buying journey, because we understand the pains and the gains and the jobs of the individual. But what about your product? What about your offer? And an offer is simply something that is relevant to the buyer, that allows them to solve their problem. It's not about your product, it's about your offer. So let's look at what that's broken down to. So within this third area, we've talked about the buyer's real problem and the market opportunity. Those 2 things have been discussed in jobs that we've done. The new thing, your new offer, your new insight that delivers a new product, a new service, a new way of going about solving problems. That new thing is a combination of your vision and your practical insight-driven technology new thing. We look at the technology, we look at the design and the experience. So the design is what you pull together, the experience is what customers experience, and we look at what the core insight was or is in creating your new thing. In many instances, we actually work, especially in service businesses, in helping create a new thing with the customers. And that's because we understand a little bit more about what should be compelling. And the insights obviously give us very clear direction as to what the new thing or the offer should be. For platform businesses and product businesses, they have a core technology. It's about framing that technology in the eyes and the view of the buyer. So if we go back to our little man trying to get something done, the new thing is a fresh way to help buyers achieve their goals. So we discussed that they need to achieve their goals and they're worried about how they're going to achieve their goals. Your new thing cuts through because it's new news, and they go, oh, that's a novel way of doing it. So it's entirely possible to create this. What we do is we look at these fundamental areas, which are the core insight, the technology, the experience, and the design. We look at it in the context of who and why we're targeting, and we look at the benefits that this produces. This is a workshop. We have a number of workshops with your leadership team to achieve this. What we then do is we take this insight and we kind of apply some creative leaps. So the creative leaps are, well, we have to look at the insight, and then we have to look at the benefits. So we have to put it through the filter of a job, through what the market opportunity is, and we then refine what the new thing is. So as an example, the new thing that we looked at for Cipras was the fact that their data, their private market data, comes from the source. It comes from venture capitalists and investors. It doesn't come, as all the competitors do, from scraped and aggregated material. So their new thing is a methodology that allows them to gather data and make it absolutely accurate, 100% accurate. Accuracy becomes this new thing, and it's substantiated with their how, because we need to talk about the how to deliver the trust. Now, is accuracy and the way that they gather the data, is that a feature? Is that a benefit? No, it's a sum of its parts. And really, when you're combining things, you're seeking the space that allows a buyer to go, ooh, okay, that's a different way of doing it. And then they kind of go, oh, this is worth investigating, because you described the how as a new thing. So when you have all this information, and it takes a few weeks to gather it, you construct your value proposition. And this is building off work that Strategyzer has done. So they talk a lot about these jobs, pains and gains, and we've worked with a lot of their principles. So all credit to them. The approach is very established. So what you have, but there's a few things we've built on it. This jobs to be done says, okay, you're trying to say, evaluate if a private market investment is good or not. Our features and benefits mean that you can do that. The new thing about that is, well, the reason you can do it with confidence, and we give you the data with confidence, which is all wrapped up in a specific process. That new thing is delivering you the accuracy you never had. You could do that before, but you never had the accuracy. So you can see within this that each of these areas, jobs to be done, are kind of the jobs are achieved by the features and benefits. The pains are relieved by the pain relievers, such as we make it simpler, easier, cheaper. The gains are delivered by the gain creators. So therefore, you can trend things, you can visualize things, you can do all these things you want to do. How can it happen? I don't understand how it can happen. This is our new thing. This is how it happens. The way that we do it, the models we use, the processes we use delivers more accurate data, for example. So all of these things work together. Now, we assemble them into a value proposition. Now, a value proposition in this context, within this template that we use, takes all of these jobs, pains, and gains and assembles it along a buying journey with alternatives and with prioritization, assembles it into a very simple sentence, which is, our new thing helps this persona who want to get this job done, or these jobs done, depending on how similar they are, by removing this pain and increasing this gain, unlike them using the alternatives. The trick of assembling all these insights is that you make it very specific to a persona's use case. So take that private market data example, if an investment analyst is trying to compare portfolio performance, that's the use case you talk to, and that's the value proposition you talk about. We've got this other framework of thinking around, lots of companies are talking about the category trends, and they're talking about it. Most people are buying on use case and how. So they just want to know, can you fix this problem? So value propositions, these are not creative things, these are strategically accurate things, should be about each use case describing how you fix the problem. When you've got all this information, you can have, say, 4 or 5 personas, you could have 4 or 5 value propositions, you have a value proposition per persona. Once you've got this information, you can then come up with broad positioning statements. So for example, CPRAs, provides, uniquely accurate private market data because in the market, accuracy does not exist. For analysts, investment analysts with this job who want to compare their portfolio so that they can recommend to their investors what they should invest in. So you have a very simple positioning in the market once you have an understanding of all your value propositions. The value proposition is by persona. The positioning in the market is a market level proposition. Once you've assembled all that, what do you do with that? So we need to kind of understand, is this useful and relevant or not? And the simplest way that we've found to do that is by understanding if it is relevant, specific, urgent, and surprising. I'll go through each of these. So when we work on gathering insights and gathering them into value propositions, we're always seeking for something that's not boring. The value proposition itself could be quite factual, but what it has to have is a kernel of interestingness that can spark something provocative. And that's the creative leap that we have in our process, whereby you have a simple value proposition, but then a provocative point of view. We'll come on to the example of that in a minute. I'll get a cup of tea. So the 4 areas that we always evaluate all of our insights and value work through are, is it relevant? Is it allowing, say, that financial analyst to go, oh, you know me? Is it specific? Oh, right, you're really talking about what I need. Is it urgent? I can't live another day without having this because otherwise I'll be fired, would be a good response. And then is it surprising? Oh, wow, that's different. So if you look at each of these things to evaluate what you've got, relevance, is it talking about the things that I'm interested in? And this is the jobs, the gains, the pains, etc. You want to be able to construct a headline in a landing page, for example, which says, now you can ... This Notion example is simple enough. Now you can stop wasting time jumping between different tools. Now, we're assuming that a lot of their buyers are saying, the reason I use Notion is everything's in one place, and I don't like to have 20 logins. So they're very specifically saying, for people, not everybody, people who've got this problem, now you can stop wasting time jumping between different tools. So it's very relevant to those people who are worried about efficiency. Is it specific? Generally what happens is the broader you are, the more confusing you are. And most businesses come to us with these kind of very broad catch-all phrases which mean nothing to nobody. So what you want to do is go, what is my core specific thing that I'm solving? In this Notion example, again, more work gets done. Okay, and here's some evidence. Great, more work gets done. It's about efficiency, and I understand what it is. It's very easy to say, Notion is your HQ for all things work or something. I don't know what that means. If you want to get more work done, use Notion. So these are examples of just landing pages, for example, or banners or ads that will communicate specific benefits within that value proposition. Is it urgent? So if you've got your high-ranking jobs, so remember we were ranking the jobs before around how important they were to the buyer. Are they important? Are they tangible to the buyer? Are they unsatisfied, as in not solved? So once you've got that, you can identify the jobs that represent burning platforms. These are the things that are really destroying the business. And then you can make your promise or your offer related to solving that job, getting that job done quickly. So this example of Thinkific, which is a training platform or a learning platform, they're saying, oh, we know that the pain that you've got is making money. You're an expert. The pain you've got is making money. Specifically, urgently, this is how much money you can make each month. So they're providing an offer very specific to the pain that the potential buyer has. Now you can see that once you've evaluated your value propositions in these areas, you can come up with lots of creative ideas for things to do. Some are just very tactical and ordinary. Some are very breakthrough. This is an example of a breakthrough idea. You want your value proposition to have an element of surprise. Oh, wow, I didn't realize that was the case. In the case of CPRES, it was like, didn't realize that all this stuff was scraped and it was bad inaccuracy. My God, it's like a pyramid of bad, or a house of cards of bad data. So it becomes a surprising thing when you call out your competitors, for example. So if we understand the paradigm shift that we're offering with our product and our approach, we can then talk about that as a surprising new insight. And we call that a provocative point of view. Salesforce.com, when it launched, was highly provocative and brilliantly so, and arguably is can't talk about that anymore because everything moved to the cloud. But they had to establish the idea that on-premise software was a pain in the backside. On cloud was just ready to go. Boom. At the time, that was a big idea, as you can imagine. The way they communicated it to have cut through was this idea of the end of software, no more software, which was a provocative idea at the time. And then the more creative you can be with it, the better. So this is an example of where a cut-through idea, creative idea, can come out of a value proposition that has got at its heart something massively insightful and new, the new thing. You can't get to new things or provocative ideas without something that is potentially newsworthy. So we always look for that. This is an example of why newsworthy works, right? Whether it be COVID, Brexit, or celebrity gossip, all of this information is always relevant to somebody. It's urgent because it's new news, or it solves a problem immediately, or is related to an immediate issue. It's highly specific and it's always surprising. So when you're thinking about PR and communications, baking in newsworthiness is a very good idea. Then what you end up doing in PR is telling the story of the problem. So if you take that Salesforce example, they're telling the story of what a pain software is on premises. You want to illustrate the story of that problem, or the problem, with its impact on people, culture, business, economy, etc., to get news. So if you take the CPRES example of private market data that's highly accurate, the problem is that X billion and trillion is invested in private markets based on scraped assumptive data, which after 2009 would kind of suggest is a pretty bad idea. So you've got this newsworthy thought woven in to the positioning. So to take that example, you can't see, move my little face somewhere else. Try that one. There we go. So to take that example, the insights that we worked with this client, CPRES, on was that current private market data is this house of cards of scraped and inaccurate data. It's poor quality, and only CPRES data is from the source, meaning it's accurate, granular, and quality controlled. So the provocative point of view, or the energy that we're putting into the marketing, is that actually, if you don't have CPRES, you don't know. Those without CPRES are simply guessing. Now, that's a provocative statement to make in any market, that suddenly a whole bunch of potential customers are just guessing because they don't know the facts. But that's the kind of energy you need to build into your marketing. Another example. Things Recon is a cybersecurity platform. It's got a new way of searching for potential attacks that are happening to any organization. The big insight is the hackers are actually just winning the battle. From a cybersecurity point of view, the industry is failing. Traditional ways of managing or searching out for potential attacks, or evaluating how vulnerable you are, which is external attack surface management, is the area of working out how vulnerable you are. Traditional vendors, like Microsoft, are ineffective due to their very predictable methods. They've been around a long time. They're using open source technology. And essentially what happens is hackers know that technology. So they can see all of the tricks that are being deployed. So our provocative point of view for them was that we're losing the battle with hackers because the methods are predictable. You can see how this could be headlines. Our new method, our new thing, event signals, is a new and unpredictable approach. Okay. Exposing 3 times the vulnerabilities at 5 times the cost reduction or less cost. the immediate response to that headline is, great, how? And then you're into trust and evidencing what you do through your how. So you can see how PR is woven into these positions, this positioning. An example that we've talked about ourselves, we know that B2B businesses struggle with differentiation because B2B most of the time stands for boring to boring. We know that competitors are selling the what, but buyers decide on how. So working with clients on how helps them sell more. And we know that within 12 to 18 months, our clients close their biggest deals and increase their sales because of this energy and this focus we give them. So our provocative point of view is you can't bore someone into buying. We help B2B businesses create a new swagger in everything they do, and that attracts more sales. So you can see that the insights deliver your opportunity for something different. And as soon as you've got something different, you can then expand it creatively into lots of areas. So this last 50 minutes, we've gone through the foundational insights needed for value propositions. We've talked about what value is, how you should perceive it. It's something practical, it's actionable, it's something useful, it's a utility. We talked about the research methods for finding what buyers value, the jobs to be done, pains and gains. We talked about the need to talk to lots of customers and have a very structured way to doing that. We talked about how to think about your offer and package your offer so that you're positioning yourself as new and newsworthy. How to assemble your value proposition and how to evaluate your proposition so you can get to something which is provocative. So that's a whistle-stop tour of that element of our process, which we hope is useful. You can see that from our process, we do the positioning, the go-to-market planning, and the growth machine, which delivers automation and consistency. The next webinar is number 4, which I just realized I got the wrong date. I think it's in a couple of weeks, is the 4 fundamental insights. So we're going to go deeper into those insights that we talked about. It's the bedrock of any differentiation, and it allows you to kind of use those insights across product development. So that's what we're doing next. I think, sorry, the date, yes, is in a couple of weeks. So I'm recording this. We're doing this now together. What is this? This 3rd of April, isn't it? Because so we've got a couple of weeks before webinar 4, and all of them will be available after the date as well. So please get in touch. We've got a bit of space in May. We can help you sort out your B2B marketing in a very short period of time. And I hope this is useful. I'll respond to kind of comments and chat stuff afterwards. I like to kind of take the questions and then feed them back into the next webinar. So we'll do that. And I'll also do that on LinkedIn. So thanks very much. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one too. Cheers. Bye-bye.